welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
I'm Jan.
Tara.
And I'm Josh. And I wanted to bring something up about the set that we have here. We've been in the library for quite some time, but only since last season have we been using different chairs. I had the chairs that we had from season 7 to 16, because season 6 we used beach chairs and other, like the bigger chairs. We had the black leather chairs, but now we have these wooden chairs here, and these hold a sentimental value because they come from my grandparents' place. They've had them they're about 50 years old, and I grew up having endless meals in these chairs, and we have a table back here that table there with the Oreos and the paper towels and the cups. That was a table that could that could fit 4 people. If you really wanted to stretch it out, you could get another person at the head of the table. But I'm glad that I was able to give it some additional life, and especially incorporate it onto the show. So I'm very grateful for that. So I thought I would point that out. But let's get right into the discussion today. We're going to be going over Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And Larry is an enthusiast for his works. He loved Crime and Punishment.
Sure did.
And you have a discussion starter for this?
Yes. This novella famously has 2 parts. It is the first part is a description of the main character. It's a narrated look at his philosophy and his worldview. And then the second part of the book is an account of things that happened to him in his life. Now, one leads into the other, and my question is, what do you guys think is about the worldview that he has that leads him to act the way that he does? Or why did Dostoevsky want us to understand his perspective on how he sees the world?
I think that the way to look at, because he really embraces the idea of freedom and the freedom to do so. And it feels like this unnamed narrator is pushing upon his freedoms and his rights in order to approach and feel a certain way about what's going on. But he speaks in a lot of hypotheticals, such as what if 2 plus 2 equals 5? Why can't we think that 2 plus 2 equals 5? We should have the freedom to do so. But, I mean, there's things that just have firm answers, and it goes against the logic, but that just seems to be his train of thought, and others perceive him as a bit of a jerk, for that matter. I mean, he doesn't say it to them. He says it during the first part while he's underground. But it's that way of thinking that carries over to what happens in the second part, where it's a reflection back on a time when he was younger and interacting with other people rather than being secluded.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like that this book is looking at attitudes and philosophies. So it's kind of alien because it's Russian, and it's during the 1800s. So he's kind of criticizing philosophy of the time. So it's it's a very difficult book. Like, I've been trying to read this thing for 20 30 years since I picked this book up, and I've never been able to get through it. And then that's finally why I made it. I said, okay, I'm picking this book now because then I'll have to read it and I'll finally get through it. But it's that tough. I mean, it is a hard read. This is probably the second hardest read I ever read. The first one being Sound and the Fury. But my point is that he's looking at freedom as...
Keep that in mind.
That's a tough
Sound
one.
of the Fury.
That's a tough one. That's a fault. But he's like... He's attacking this idea that people will always act in their self-interest. And he's saying that he doesn't believe that that's true, and if it is true, then he doesn't want to do it, because then in order to be an individual, you'll have to do things that are against your self-interest, because that would be like defying programming and proving free will. And that's basically what I got out of what his philosophy is. But of course that, is going to cause a lot of disharmony if you actually try to live that out. That's not going to work out too well. What about you, Jen? What did you think?
I liked it. It was delving into his psyche and how he perceived life around himself. Again, as you said, is based in Russia and in that time period, which makes it was a little more difficult for me in the sense of I'm used to books and stories in the 1800s taking place in the United States of America or Great Britain, England. And then here this new one comes to me, and I was glad when I saw it on the list for this reason. I've wanted to read this for years and see if it's as difficult as I had heard, and it is in a sense, yes. But, to see life from the perspective of someone who grew up in those years in Russia was different.
Yeah.
And it made it a little more difficult to understand, and I had to kind of battle that in my mind. It's not England. It's not the United States. It's not... it's just hard to explain how I had to battle with that and relax my mind to say, yes, big deal, it's in Russia. We all think along the same lines, just different languages, but their country was more difficult to live in. It still is a very difficult place to live in, different in every respect. And so I believe that Russian people have more of an internal battle than a lot of other people, because they are politically not allowed to do a lot of the things that people in other countries can do without fear of being locked up, fear of death, or at least back then.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whereas we've always been fairly able to speak our own minds in this country, even to a degree in other countries like England and areas like that, without much fear of death.
A lot of them had to leave Russia in order to speak their mind. There were people
Correct.
like Gorky, to me, was very much for the Russian cause. Those like Solzhenitsyn were... He was loyal to... He wanted to be Russian, but he did write works that got him banished from the country. Someone like Brodsky, who's a more modern-day poet, he wanted out. His work was viewed as pornographic, not sexually so, but obscene in the way that it went against the establishment of the Soviets, and so he moved to America and became a college professor, and he also continued to write poetry. Bunin went to France. I think Sholokhov was for the Russian cause. Pasternak had to turn down he wrote Dr. Zhivago. He had to turn down the Nobel Prize in Literature because it would create waves. That was during Khrushchev's tenure. But you get someone like Dostoevsky he was for free thought, and he is revered by free thinkers as well as Uh, Catholics actually revere him as well. I don't know. Charlie brought him up. Fulton Sheen.
Oh yeah.
He was. I think he was a priest.
Yeah, he was a bishop.
Bishop. Okay.
In the 50s, and he had a very popular television show.
He made mention to Dostoevsky in one of his episodes.
Okay.
I remember watching some of that one.
Yeah.
Not enough to really come up with a conclusion, but aside from the fact that he really revered him.
Yes. Well, yeah, he was, Dostoevsky was an Eastern Orthodox, and we have a lot in common with them. There are separated brothers, just like all Christians are. But so yeah, he had a lot to say about what was going on at the time in Russia and what was kind of leading up to the eventual Soviet Revolution and everything, and the totalitarianism of the time, was this kind of thing that we're also going through with all this humanism and these philosophical ideas that try to take God out of reason so that they are separate. And what happens, I believe, when you do that is you can basically justify anything, because it's all about presuppositions. Like when you're making an argument, like a logical argument, you have to start somewhere. There have to be certain assumptions that you make about the way that the world is. And that is ultimately going to lead you to all kinds of conclusions, depending on what you start at. Like, the Nazis, from their perspective, they were acting perfectly logically because of the presuppositions that they made at the beginning of the argument, which is, the German people are the best, let's say, or the German people are better than other people, and they're meant to inherit the world. When you start from that, then, what's the next logical thing you do? Well, we should rule the world, right? So you can make a logical argument based on the presupposition that gets you to the place. But so if you're not making the right presuppositions in the first place, then you can be as logical as you want, and you still be wrong. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think Dostoevsky is criticizing, because there's all this godless philosophy in Russia at the time. The stuff that the narrator is criticizing is godless, and the stuff that he is criticizing is also like humanism. It tries to say, okay, well, the well-being of people is what matters. That's the presupposition at the bottom of humanism is well-being is the most important thing. Well, then you got to make assumptions from there in order to get to any kind of a consistent philosophy.
I'll be honest with you, I had a very difficult time reading this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot has to do with the fact that a lot of the philosophy and a lot of the terms that he uses are very outdated.
Yeah.
And I also feel that it takes a central character that doesn't necessarily have to be likable, but at least see some... you have to either see reason or someone that can convey it. And I didn't find this narrator to be likable, nor did I find him to be able to convey his reason very well. I think part of it was the fact that there is a time divide, but the other part, and I can understand that because I think that Dostoevsky clearly wrote this for himself. But I think that it was, he just wasn't able to convince me why we should concur with what it is that he's trying to express.
I have to agree with that. That in the very beginning of the book, the first portion of the book, I also felt the same way. And he did write, I believe, that he was going on and on about the same things over and over again. And I recall thinking at one point, this is very wordy, he could have narrowed his thoughts down and was more, he could have been more direct to the point of what he was trying to speak to, and I think it would be less difficult to understand. But
yeah, I think part of it is that it is very much a book of its time and place. and we're not in that time and place.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Yes.
like these other ideas that he's criticizing at the time, Russian thinkers of this
Yes.
time would understand what he's critiquing better than we can, because we don't have the background to really understand all that.
They had a slightly familiar presence there, not really much of a presence in history, if any, and it didn't carry over.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds this whole it felt like a football team without a proper starting quarterback. To me,
Yeah, well, the main character here is not meant to be likable. He is a villain.
Like, I'm fine with non-likable characters.
Yeah.
It's gotta be the writing that pulls me through.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think ultimately in the second half, what we're meant to take away here is very similar. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Flannery O'Connor was kind of inspired by something like this, because in the same way that all of her stories kind of are about God offering grace and characters either accepting or refusing that grace, we have the same situation with the narrator here, who has a chance to actually be good to a woman, and maybe, you're hoping maybe they'll get married and start and have a life together, and that would be something for him to do in his self-interest that would actually be good for both of them. But instead he throws that away in the end.
I hated how he treated her.
I did too.
Yeah.
I had a difficult time with that for several days after finishing that book. I would find myself contemplating how things were in her mind when she left the apartment, and how badly he had hurt her emotionally after their first meeting, and all the kind things he said to her to uplift her and
Encourage her.
try to help her to see life from a better perspective, and herself from a better perspective is
It's worth noting that she is from the prostitution background.
right, but she didn't. She was born into it.
She was a prostitute. That's what.
Right.
That's what
Yeah, but
he.
not-
But I
she was
believe
not.
she was.
She left her family.
She
Yeah.
left because
Yes.
Because of something.
things
That's what I
were
meant, was that
bad in
when he
Russia.
saw her, she was a prostitute.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, but
Right.
yeah, that's right. There is something in there, yeah, that her parents were going to sell her or something.
And so I believe
She-
she had no choice, and that was
Yeah.
in those years. Most women that did that felt they had no choice. Probably most women today who still are in that profession feel they have no choice. That
Yep.
they are worthless for anything other than the use of their bodies for men. But I think that was the only way she figured she could have a good life, and he saw it for what it really was, because he had seen other young girls, and as he explained to her, you're what I believe he said she was like 24 or 25 at the time, and by the time you reach 26 or whatever, however he phrased it, she would already look like she was a good 10 years or more older than she would be,
Yeah.
and that it was going to age her, and that she was worth more than that in life, that she should find a husband and have a family.
And she goes to him for help in the end, and he is of two minds. Like, yeah, even at that point, he's like, well, this woman can be everything for me. And at the same time, when it comes time to put up or shut up on that front, then he does it like
I believe
destroys her.
Yes, and I believe on his behalf that was self-preservation. Because he was embarrassed that he worried himself sick about her actually showing up.
Yeah.
Because for the fact that he had given her his address. And so for 3 days he worried himself sick, and then she showed up. And he lived in squalor, and he was dressed in a torn bedrobe or bathrobe, or however he termed that. Correct? And he was embarrassed, and he had yelled at her, did you think I was going to save you? Did you think I was rich? You were going to find me, in a better situation? Well, I'm not. And now, here you are. And he berates her and belittles her, and then he tries to pay her off, and she leaves the money behind.
Yeah.
And leaves, and he never knew what happened to her. And that kind of broke my heart. Like, he broke her heart. He not only broke her heart, he destroyed who she was,
Hmm.
destroyed the heart of
Had the
her.
opportunity to get her on a better track, but
Right.
and it's okay to not be as strong as you may perceive yourself to her, but he should have just, if that was the case, he should have just been honest with her. Just say that it's gonna be tough. It might be a little bit tough for me, and it might be a tough route for both of us. But if you want to make something happen, we'll get through this together instead of just
Pushing her away.
Yeah.
just being angry and writing her off altogether. And
Like how most
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right?
And also, like, back then, either the women like, were made to be prostitutes or they go to the church. Be the church.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
they can't get married.
Yeah.
So it was one of those two things back then. Especially probably in that country, too. You had to, like, either find religion. If you can't find a man, you can't be single back then.
Yeah, that's true.
already, did you want to say anything in particular, Tara? Something that stuck out?
Didn't like it.
Mm.
I even texted Jan. I was like, nope. That's why I
It's
wrote.
hard.
I wrote,
It's
no.
really hard.
It's just okay. So the beginning, I viewed it as a philosophy textbook.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I understand what where this is coming from.
The beginning was
'Cause it-
rough.
Because I did take a philosophy class, and it was one of the hardest classes I took when in college. So anything that was philosophy, I'm glad I took that class because it helps me now
Yeah.
with skills that in college helped me with that like philosophy skill. So that I took it as it was, and I also went online and looked up some stuff to help me further understand. And then the story was just like I didn't care.
I took world religions instead of philosophy, and I felt that it was a very fulfilling class.
Well, I should have done that.
It was a good class too.
I think both would be wonderful.
Yeah, we could take both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was because world religions was in the philosophy umbrella, ethics, critical thinking.
That's
But
good for you.
It was one of the hardest classes. Actually, the most hard class was poetry.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Mine was astronomy. It was much tougher than you'd think. Actually,
I'm sorry.
grade-wise, it'd be statistics.
Well, see, like the statistics, forget it. I don't understand that. But for me personally, I did take a planets class. What is it?
Yeah,
Astrology class,
astronomy,
whatever.
planets,
The astronomy
yes,
class and the poetry class. The poetry class was a lot harder than that other class I took.
I guess
To be honest.
a lot has to do with how it's taught and who's teaching it too.
Well, the guy didn't believe in extra support.
Yeah, well, that's not good.
Already
But I made do.
Statistics, so that's rough. So.
it's just rough material.
Goodness gracious. I didn't do too well in statistics.
I don't understand it.
No, yeah, I couldn't get my head around it all the way.
Do we have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, look, Dostoevsky, man, he's tough, and that's why. But I like to read him, and I wanted you guys to read him, and I like to share him with people because I think he does have a lot to say. This one, I don't know if I would have done it again though, because it is, like I said earlier, very much of its time and place, and it's very difficult because of that. So, like Crime and Punishment, though, I mean, we did that one a few years ago, and I loved it, but I was not. I was on my own pretty much.
I will say that it was. I preferred Crime and Punishment because I think it was more accessible.
Yeah. Yes.
I see you're not wearing a hat today, but I wouldn't flip it anyway because I'm a pacifist and I like to use my words in order to express my feelings.
I appreciate that, Josh.
Already. Do we want to go? Anybody have anything else to say, or do we just want to go right to rating?
I think what's his rating?
Already, 0 to 5 stars, half stars permitted. Larry?
I'm going 2. Like I said, I think this book is probably not 1. It's short. It's got that going for it, but it's really tough, and it is of its time and place, and more of an artifact really than a good story. So I would say 2 stars.
Okay, Jen?
I'm going to say 2.5, and for all the reasons that Larry shared, and I mean, I liked it, and I didn't. So I really wouldn't go above 2.5.
Tara?
He's already said nope. that's my rating. Nope. And I'm not gonna be reading anything from.
Is there a numerical translation?
Now I feel bad.
It's just okay. Fine. If you want for Josh, it's like if you take picture the 1 star, and picture like you know how you can just go like this. Picture like a little bit at the corner tips the star.
Oh.
If you're allowed to do that.
Okay.
That's how much I don't like it.
0.002 or something. Like
I'm feeling.
But on
0.002.
But on Goodreads, it's I think I put 1 or 2 star. I don't remember. I think hopefully it's 1 star, but it's a nope.
I'm feeling generous with my 2.5 stars that I'm rating this. I thought I was going to be the one to. I thought there'd be more. Feel everybody would have a stronger understanding or at least respect for it, but I acknowledge.
Don't get me wrong, I don't disrespect it.
I acknowledge the fact that it was an interesting approach, but I don't like where that approach went. I didn't like the. I think I said it better earlier in the discussion that it's very outdated. I didn't get the way that the unnamed narrator was conveying their message. I didn't like the unnamed narrator. I thought he was a jerk.
Not alone there.
Yeah, it's not. It's. I mean, I could understand that he thinks the way he thinks, and he brings up relatively. His points that he brings up are worth examining, but he's the equivalent to a football team without a quarterback that can guide them to where they need to go.
See, to me, it's a lot like the Stranger.
The old Eagles team, like before they started winning all the time.
That would be, I guess, from the 70s.
I'm talking about like before they got went to the Super Bowl, what is it, the early 2000s, and then it fell off a little bit.
I wouldn't compare them.
I'm just saying,
I wouldn't say they were I wouldn't say that it was like a Donovan McNabb ran team. I didn't
say that.
I really didn't like Donovan McNabb's personality and his attitude, but I thought he was an effective quarterback.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about before they went to the Super Bowl and I don't know. When?
So
you mean...
Remember time when I remember my
maybe when Rich Kotite was their coach.
Before, yeah.
Or Ray Rhodes was their coach.
And then what?
Or Marion Campbell in the mid '80s.
And the Jets are really bad too. So you compare them to
not
Jets.
for long.
Is there a football team called the Gladiators by any chance?
Maybe in another a league that I don't know about. Maybe I should buy a franchise and we call it the New Jersey Gladiators.
Yeah.
But we're digressing a bit as far as those details are. But otherwise,
2.5. You said. Huh?
Yeah, I said 2.5.
Yeah. See, to me, Josh, you just reminded me that something else I wanted to say is that it does remind me of Albert Camus and The Stranger.
The Stranger is much better, though.
Yeah, I would say that it stands up and it's more Western, so it's more approachable. But it's the same kind of story where we're looking at this person who has a very flawed philosophy and how that impacts their life. It's the same kind of thing.
But it's conveyed better.
I would say that the Stranger is a much better work.
Yeah, and it's got a much better delivery.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like that sense of absurdism that Camus uses in taking direction to the piece, and it's not, and it stands the test of time. It doesn't feel like it's outdated. I mean, Marcel is not meant to be likable, but you can understand why.
Yeah, bad philosophy.
Alrighty. If you are interested in checking out Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky, which none of us were, Here's my copy that was with the new translation by Richard Pevere and Larissa Volohansky. This is the design of this is very much like the Camus books too. The way in which it's
What's that
the
design?
black and white, and with the stranger, it's the
Makes sense for the
like
book.
the circle, like the hypnotist
Mhm.
thing. The plague is blots.
Yeah. Interesting coincidence.
Alrighty then, be sure to join us next time on another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.